Hello, in this dissection we'll be dissecting a pig kidney. So before we make our incision there are a few things to notice on the outside. As you can see there is an indentation here where the artery, vein, and ureter are located. This indentation is called the hilum. This tube here is the ureter, which carries waste in the form of urine away from the kidneys. In order to identify the artery from the vein, we can look at the wall thickness, as arteries have a thicker wall that helps us identify this one as the renal artery and this other vessel as the renal vein. So now let's make our incision. We will make our cut around the kidney in order to have symmetrical halves. So here's our kidney with each half. There are three layers of the kidney. The outermost layer is the renal capsule, which is a thin layer along the outside. Working inwards, the next layer we see is the renal cortex. The innermost layer is the renal medulla. Here's the renal sinus, which isn't a layer, but a space where these tissues reside. As you can see, these layers don't form evenly, but in between the medulla you can see where the renal cortex extends farther past. This extension of the renal cortex is termed the renal column. The renal medulla is made up of multiple renal pyramids. This area of the renal pyramids and the renal cortex is where the nephrons are located and the filtration of waste occurs. Below each of the renal pyramids is a minor calyx, which collects the waste from filtering that is going on. Multiple minor calyces converge into a major calyx, and the major calyces converge into the renal pelvis. So now that we have identified the major parts of the kidney, let's start with the beginning of the process and talk about how blood is filtered through it. Blood flows in via the renal artery and then branches and wraps around the renal medulla, where it connects to a nephron. The blood flows to the glomerulus, which resembles a ball of yarn, but instead of yarn is a blood vessel. The glomerulus is encapsulated by the Bowman's capsule, which collects the filtrate from the blood. This filtrate contains waste, but there are also a lot of other good nutrients the blood would like to recapture. So it flows from the Bowman's capsule to the proximal convoluted tube, and there some of the nutrients are recaptured. All of that has taken place in the renal cortex, but now it descends into the medulla through the loop of Henle, where there is a high salt gradient. The salt gradient helps remove water and thereby concentrating the waste products and recapturing some of that lost water. The blood vessels are following along the loop of Henle, so they reabsorb the water, returning it to the bloodstream. This then leads back out of the medulla into the distal convoluted tube and then to the collecting duct, which takes the urine to the base of the renal pyramid where it is collected by the minor calyx, and then like a funnel leads to the renal pelvis and out of the ureter to the bladder. The blood flows out through the veins after depositing the waste and collecting the nutrients through the nephron, and then returns to the rest of the body through the renal vein.